What if a photograph didn't just capture a moment, but captured the exact second a life ended? Today, we're breaking down Will Trent Season 4, Episode 3, Studio 4B, an episode that blends dark obsession, disturbing art, unexpected romance, and one unforgettable dog-led investigation into a surprisingly emotional hour of television. After the explosive two-part season premiere, this episode slows things down just enough to dig deep into trauma, healing, and the uncomfortable truth that sometimes evil hides behind beauty, money, and art. Let's break down the full story, from the opening murder to the final emotional moments. The episode opens inside a photography studio. Bright lights, a camera clicking. A young model named Chloe stands confidently before the lens. She's not nervous, she's in control. In fact, Chloe is directing the shoot herself, adjusting poses, angles, and expressions. The photographer follows her lead, snapping photos as she moves fluidly across the space. Everything feels stylish, professional, almost glamorous. Then, everything changes. Someone Chloe clearly recognizes steps into frame holding a knife. Her confidence evaporates instantly. She panics. She begs them to stop. She screams. The lights go out, and the final photograph captures pure terror frozen in time, the exact moment before Chloe is murdered. This isn't just a killing, it's a killing meant to be documented. The next scene brings us to the aftermath. Chloe's body lies on the studio floor, surrounded by blood. Faith Mitchell carefully examines the wounds while Amanda Wagner oversees the scene. Every detail matters: the stab pattern, the positioning of the body, the lighting equipment. What immediately stands out is how intentional the scene feels. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was choreography. Meanwhile, the crime scene photographer documents the body, an uncomfortable parallel to how Chloe was murdered while being photographed. As the team works, Amanda gets a call from Will Trent. He's frustrated, confused, and completely lost. Will is inside the correct building, but his dyslexia makes it impossible for him to decipher the signage. He knows he's close, but every hallway feels wrong. Then someone walks past him. Ava Green. She recognizes him instantly. Will takes a moment. He remembers her, but not the brief romantic entanglement they once shared. Awkward. Ava is a photographer and archivist working in the building. She didn't know Chloe personally, but she knows many people who photographed her. Just as the tension between them builds, Amanda interrupts the moment. Before leaving, Ava casually grabs Will's phone, pulls it closer, and airdrops her number into it. Will watches her walk away with a goofy, unmistakable smile. It's been a long time since we've seen that look on his face. Will finally reaches the crime scene and meets the building's owners. Valentina Televesco, the emotional and tightly wound matriarch, and her son Alex, who runs the photography studio. Valentina is frantic. She begs Amanda not to publicize the murder. Will begins quietly examining the room, reconstructing the crime in his mind. Movement, angles, timing. His attention to detail is laser-focused. The owners reveal something disturbing. Someone emailed them pretending to be Hans Kessler, a legendary fashion photographer. They gave that person access. Even worse, the building's front door code hasn't been changed in 40 years. No cameras, no logs, no security. The killer didn't break in. They were invited. Will and Faith discover a black light mounted to the ceiling. When activated, it reveals blood spatter patterns invisible to the naked eye. This wasn't just murder, it was a setup. They realize Chloe was positioned, lit, and killed specifically to be photographed. The motive becomes chillingly clear. Someone wanted art, not justice, not money. Art. Meanwhile, across town, Michael Ormewood is trying to return to normal life. Still recovering from chemotherapy, he's tired, slower, and clearly frustrated with desk duty. He walks Betty with Nico and his daughter Cooper, who quietly admits she's not actually training for a dog, but trying to follow doctor's orders to keep her dad moving. Then Betty suddenly bolts. She runs straight into neighbor Vigo's house through the doggy door. When they retrieve her, Betty has blood on her paw. Not dog blood, human blood. Ormewood knows something is wrong. Back at the GBI, Will invites Ava to consult on the case. She immediately recognizes the style of the photographs. They belong to Crispin Ratner, a washed-up photographer known for predatory behavior and disguising his sexual fetishes as art. Ratner once had a studio in the same building. Even worse, Chloe had reported him for abuse. Will and Faith arrest Ratner, but his alibi checks out. However, Ratner reveals something crucial. He recently bought vintage film for a client obsessed with death, a man named Gideon Barnell. Will and Faith go undercover as art collectors. Ava gets them invited to Gideon's private gathering. Inside, they find grotesque artwork, photographs of animals dying, frozen in their final moments. Gideon doesn't hide his obsession. He reveres death, worships it. Will overhears collectors discussing rumors that Gideon would pay for a photograph of a person dying. That's when it clicks. Chloe wasn't just murdered, she was commissioned. Faith tracks financial records. The money leads to Alex Telvesco. When Will confronts him, Alex panics. He jumps, right in front of his mother. Another life lost, another truth buried, but not completely. Later that night, Will and Ava develop the remaining film from Chloe's shoot. In the quiet intimacy of the darkroom, grief and connection blur, and they sleep together. But danger isn't over. Will returns to find Valentina holding a gun to Ava's head. The truth finally spills out. Gideon hired Alex, but Alex couldn't go through with it. Valentina killed Chloe herself to protect her son and save their studio from financial ruin. Faith arrives in time to arrest Valentina. Ava survives. Justice, finally, has a face. Back to Ormewood. He, Angie, Nico, and Betty stake out Vigo's house. Betty escapes again and finds two people tied up inside, victims of organized crime. Vigo runs. Ormewood chases. Slowly, painfully, but he catches him. Not because he's strong, but because he refuses to quit. The next day, Ava visits Will. He admits he's not ready for something serious. Ava smiles. Not everything has to be. They agree to keep things light. For the first time in a long while, Will feels hopeful. Studio 4B is everything Will Trent does best. Dark but thoughtful, emotional without being heavy, funny without losing stakes. It explores obsession, grief, recovery, and connection, while giving us romance, character growth, and one incredible dog detective. And sometimes, the best heroes don't wear badges. They wear collars. If you enjoyed this full breakdown, like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Would you want Ava to return? Did Betty steal the episode? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.